everyone, Sean and Catherine here with Monorail Central. Today we're going to be sharing our experience with the Captain's Gala menu at Triton's on board the Disney Wish. Today we're going to be sharing our experience with the Captain's Gala menu at Triton's on board the Disney Wonder.
The Captain's Gala menu is served on every single 7-night or longer cruise aboard Disney Cruise Line. You're the more upscale of the rotational dining restaurants aboard all of the Disney Cruise Line ships. On the Magic class ships, you'll find the Captain's Gala menu at Lumiere's and Triton's. On the Dream class, you'll find it at Royal Court and Royal Palace. And on the Wish class ships, you'll find it at 1923. Captain's Gala night is more commonly referred to as Lobster night. This is where you're going to find the oven-baked lobster tail that your server will come out to the table and take out of the shell for you and prepare for you right at the table. It also features more upscale selections. This is not to be confused with the menu that you're going to have on your formal or semi-formal nights on these longer cruises, because they serve this menu for 3 nights out of the week during your dining rotations. Our particular menu for Captain's Gala will feature some regional inspirations from the Alaskan sailings, since we did experience this aboard an Alaskan cruise. Ours in particular was a 9-night cruise. For most cruises, it'll be the second time you dine at Triton's. In our case, it was the 3rd night we dined at Triton's. It was on night 9 of our 9-night cruise.
So for our Captain's Gala night, we actually got bread service this night. We got sourdough bread with a roasted red pepper dip, and it was pretty good. I really like sourdough bread, and I don't really eat roasted red pepper at all, but I enjoyed this dip. It paired really well with butter and the bread. It was really good, but our bread was served cold.
Yep, all 9 nights of our cruise, our bread service came out cold.
Overall, good bread service. I did like this bread service.
Yeah, red pepper dip was very savory. It really complemented that sourness of the sourdough bread really well. And yeah, bread.
So for our starters, we're going to split it up into 2 categories because we each got 2 items from the Captain's Gala standard menu and 2 items from the Regional Inspirations menu. So we'll start off with the 2 items from the standard menu, and then we'll go into the 2 items from the Regional Inspirations menu. So for my first appetizer, I had the marinated tiger shrimp. This was served with celery hearts and remoulade. And this was just typical cocktail shrimp, a little fancier, but nothing that crazy. There wasn't an overwhelming fishy taste. They were fresh. I liked them, but you can find me with any shrimp appetizer and I'll be happy.
Very pedestrian shrimp.
And then the celery hearts with the remoulade wasn't anything to write home about. It's not that memorable.
I don't remember.
I'm trying to grasp into my brain what I enjoyed about it. I think it was pretty good, but it obviously wasn't terrible, and it wasn't really great. Because otherwise I would have remembered it.
It was there.
As Sean put it earlier, very pedestrian appetizer, very safe appetizer. If you like shrimp appetizers, if you like shrimp cocktail, this is something very safe for you. I did really enjoy it, and it's a good option for your starter. And then for my second starter, off of the soups and salads menu, I got the braised oxtail soup. And this came with spinach and roasted garlic tortellini. And I was so excited about this. It looked perfect. It tasted wonderful. It was served warm throughout. I will say, however, there was a lot of grease sitting on the top of the soup. I had to stir it, and then it finally kind of settled back in altogether. But it was really good. The tortellini was cooked perfectly. The oxtail was cooked perfectly. It fell apart in your mouth. This was just a great overall soup. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Again, can't go wrong with ordering it for one of your starters.
They only gave you 1 giant tortellini, which was still a very good tortellini.
Yeah.
I would eat that probably just by itself as an appetizer. The oxtail soup, yeah. Oxtail can be very stringy, but in a soup setting, it's acceptable. Definitely looking forward to trying this again. Oxtail may sound a little intimidating to you, but just keep in mind, oxtail is still beef. It's just the tail meat of the cow. They just call it oxtail for show.
I'm not a very adventurous eater, so if I will try it, it's a safe dish.
For my first appetizer off the Regional Inspirations menu, I had the roasted oyster mushrooms, which came with sesame artichoke puree and a yuzu vinaigrette. You have to really like mushrooms in order to enjoy this dish, and I'm someone who really enjoys mushrooms. We're from Philly. I'll put mushrooms on a cheesesteak. Crucify me if you will. Any chance I get, I'll put mushrooms on burgers. I'll put mushrooms on a steak. These were very, very strong with that umami mushroom flavor, and I couldn't finish this. Not to say that it was bad. It was just more mushroom for my liking. The artichoke puree really complemented everything well. It did kind of balance out the strong mushroomy flavor. Yuzu vinaigrette, I really didn't catch many notes of. But overall, if you really like mushrooms, this is a good dish to get. For my second starter, again off the Regional Inspirations menu, I had the white onion soup, which came with caraway and smoked Alaskan salmon. As far as onion soups go, the flavor was definitely there. It wasn't like the first night at Triton's where the French onion soup tasted nothing like onion, and it was just... Or French. This actually had some onion notes to it. It still wasn't as powerful of an onion flavor that I would like, but overall, still pretty good for onion soup. Was not a lot of salmon in it though. That was my main gripe with this dish. We were sailing in Alaska, and this is a regional inspiration. I wanted my Alaskan salmon, and sadly, the amount that was in there just did not live up to the hype for this dish. It wasn't bad salmon. Nope, it was definitely Alaskan salmon, but it didn't really add anything to this dish. If you're on an Alaskan cruise and it's on the menu, I would not say skip it, just because this is the only time you're ever going to have this white onion soup, is on the Alaskan regional menu. For our main courses, we're going to split it up again between what you can find regularly on the menu and the two regional inspirations we had. So we're going to start things off with the regular menu. For my main course, I of course had the oven-baked lobster tail, which was served with sun-dried tomato, lemon pesto mash, and roasted asparagus. And it was lobster tail. There was nothing really that stood out about this. Of course, this is the night where you're going to get your free lobster if you're dining in the main dining rooms. So I wasn't really expecting anything special. I do like that they cut it for you and take it out of the shell table side. That's really kind of a nice touch that Disney Cruise Line does. They of course give you melted butter to draw on top of it, and they also give you a lemon wedge if you're someone who likes lemon with your seafood, which I personally am not a fan of. I'm a big guy. They did not give me nearly enough butter at first. I asked for more, and they did not bring me any more, even though they said they would. The seasoning on it was really good. It's lobster. If you like lobster, you're going to like the lobster that they give you on Captain's Gala night. The mashed potatoes they give you were good. Again, we never had a bad mashed potato on this cruise. The asparagus, though, was not very good. We never really had good asparagus on this cruise. Really, the only good asparagus I think they had was in Cabanas.
I will say that while the mashed potatoes were good, they weren't really pesto-y. They were advertised as pesto mash. They were really good. They were buttery. They tasted good. Not a lot of pesto-y-ness to them. Like, I'm not expecting them to be bright green, but I would expect like a little more of like a pine nut and basil sort of flavor, but there wasn't really that. And the asparagus, overcooked. It was floppy, and
you can tell just by looking at the color of the one piece of asparagus that
it was very...
It was asparagus that they brought on board on the first night of the cruise.
Yes.
It was starting to wilt and get a little bit mushy. That could have just been because we had our dinner on night 9, but still, no excuse. So lobster, good choice. Definitely get it on Captain's Gala night. You're not going to find it on the menu any other night, so get it while you can.
So for my first entree, I got fettuccine with Parmesan crusted chicken, and this was chicken encrusted in Parmesan cheese with sweet peppers and mushrooms in a cheddar cheese sauce.
This sucked.
This was bad. This was really bad. This was bad. The cheddar cheese sauce was an interesting choice. There was barely any cheese sauce in this dish. It was more so conglomerated pasta. The pasta was undercooked. It was all stuck together. The cheddar cheese sauce is an interesting choice at all.
Sharp cheddar too.
Yeah, it was a sharp cheddar, which was interesting to go with the Parmesan, which is also very flavorful cheese. And then the sweet peppers were also very interesting to go with it. It felt like they were trying to make a Philly chicken cheesesteak.
Which sucks, by the way. Just any chicken cheesesteak is horrible.
It just wasn't good. The sweet peppers were mushy. They weren't great. Again, pasta overcooked, the cheese sauce was not really anything, and then the chicken was dry, and I don't know what type of presentation they were doing with that bone sticking up in the air.
Yeah, it kind of made it look like a pork chop, and to be fair, it was like dry as a pork chop.
Yeah. I would not order this entree again. I would not try it. I would not bother. It's not good.
For my next entree, off the Regional Inspirations menu, I had the Pan-Seared Venison Medallions, which was served with marinated red cabbage, potato croquettes, and a port wine juniper sauce. I'm going to start things off by saying venison is an acquired taste. If you don't know what venison is, it's deer meat. It can be a little bit gamey if it's not prepared correctly, and it's also a very lean meat. So bear that in mind. That being said, this dish was disgusting. Very similar to the beef tenderloin medallions we had at Ohana. These were just so chewy to the point where I could not even swallow it. And the port wine sauce that they served with it was just overly sweet. Port wine is a sweet wine to begin with, and when you reduce it into a sauce, it just makes it taste horrible.
It was also very thick, like for a sauce.
Yeah, it was like a port wine gravy almost.
Yeah, where they've tried it. You can thicken it with like a little bit of flour, but they've added a little too much, and they've made a gravy. It was not good. The venison was very gamey. The cabbage wasn't that great. The only redeeming quality of this dish were those potato croquettes.
Yeah, the potato croquettes were the standout of this dish, which is horrible because they're served as a side, and quite honestly, I would eat them by themselves as an appetizer if I could. The thing with Disney and medallions, what I'm finding is that when they cook them like this and you go to chew them, they kind of turn into like a meat gum, and it's just horrible. Like, when you chew gum, you know, like, your body kind of rejects trying to swallow it, and that's exactly what happened here with me. Steer clear of the deer, just like everyone says in Pennsylvania.
For my entree off of the Regional Inspirations menu, I got the roasted Bering Sea halibut, which was served on minted smashed green peas, shredded potato cake, and a chive cream sauce. And this was really good. I had never had halibut before this cruise, and then I caught a halibut while we were trawling for salmon on our first night in Ketchikan, and I decided I would try halibut. This halibut was cooked perfectly. It still had a lot of moisture. It like melted in your mouth. The flavor was great. I don't really like peas, but these smashed peas were really good. The potato cake was really good. And the sauce just combined perfectly with everything. You cannot go wrong if you're ordering this halibut filet. It was so good. I can't stop thinking about it. I want to book another 9-night cruise just so we can experience it.
And halibut is a very delicate fish. It is super easy to screw this up when you're cooking it en masse.
Yep.
They did it perfectly. I was a little indifferent to the potato cake. Overall, if I had to choose a regional inspiration dish, again, I would 100% choose this. For desserts on the Captain's Gala night, we opted to try everything available on the menu, minus the no sugar added dessert. So in total, we had 5 desserts. For my first dessert on Captain's Gala night, I had the raspberry vanilla creme brulee, which was served with lemon madeleine cookies. And this was good. Your standard creme brulee with raspberry notes in it. I wasn't necessarily a fan of the madeleine cookies, but just in general, I'm not really a big fan of shortbreads or madeleines. But the citrusy nature of the lemon in the cookie, that really, it complemented this pretty well.
I'm going to start things off with a chocolate lava cake. This was served with a double chocolate sauce and vanilla ice cream. I really enjoyed it. It was really yummy. It was really good. The chocolate sauce paired well with the vanilla ice cream. It was very decadent. The lava cake was cooked well. I definitely, when you cut into it, got the lava instead of a puck in the middle, like some other locations have done where it's not fully melted in the middle, but this was done perfectly.
The ice cream wasn't melted.
The ice cream wasn't melted before it made its way to us. It melted as we were eating, which was an even bigger plus for Triton's on this night. Overall, really, really good option for dessert. I loved all of the dessert options that we had this night. Everything was really good.
For my second dessert this night, I had the Apricot Trio, which was a vanilla cheesecake served with apricot compote, apricot tart tatin, and an apricot-infused cream. This was probably one of the weaker desserts we had this night. The vanilla cheesecake, you know, it's cheesecake, but the apricot compote that they put on top wasn't nearly enough for the amount of cheesecake they gave you.
Yep.
It also wasn't very sweet, like they didn't add any extra sugar when making it, which is kind of what you expect out of a compote, so that was okay. The apricot tart tatin, which is the one you see all the way on the right, that was very apricot-y. They literally just took a melon baller and scooped out the fruit of the apricot, and it looks like they flambéed it, or they baked it, and they put it on a little teeny tiny puff pastry. That was good. The apricot infused cream didn't really taste like apricot all that much. It was more just a little dollop of whipped cream. I mean, if you like apricots, you'll like this, but for someone who's, you know, a little more indifferent to them, it was the weaker of the desserts in my opinion.
For my second dessert, I got the Captain's Table Sundae, and this is a mint chocolate chip ice cream served with chocolate sauce, whipped cream, and crunchy meringue. And I always get an ice cream sundae. We don't review them because Sean says we don't review them.
I just think Sundays are Sundays.
You can get them anywhere. Like, you can get them any night. This sundae was excellent. I liked the pairing of a meringue with the ice cream sundae. It was a nice crunch on top of like melting ice cream. You can't go wrong with a mint chocolate chip ice cream sundae. You can't go wrong.
And then for the final dessert of the night, we both decided to share the Alaskan Regional Inspiration, which was the Alaskan Strawberry Romanoff Bread Pudding with marinated strawberries and vanilla cream cheese. Unfortunately, this one wasn't very memorable to us. I don't really have any positive or negative feelings towards it. It wasn't bad.
I'm not a big fan of the texture of bread pudding.
You have to like bread pudding.
You have to like bread pudding. I will say there was not nearly enough of that strawberry cream cheese. It also wasn't really like a strawberry cream cheese.
There wasn't really a lot of strawberry, period. The Alaskan Inspiration just really didn't feel all that inspired to me. Maybe if they made this like a salmonberry bread pudding, it would be a little more interesting because salmonberries are more prevalent in Alaska than any of the other states. This wasn't very memorable. If you're in Alaska, get it because you're not going to find it on any other menu. Just bear in mind, don't expect to be wowed by this dish. So, overall, our experience with the Captain's Gala menu aboard the Disney Wonder with Alaskan Regional Inspirations was mostly positive, definitely better than the standard Triton's menu that we had during this sailing. You just gotta steer clear of a couple of entrees, but really everything else I had no complaints about.
This was probably one of my favorite menus that we had on our 9-night cruise.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the favorite, but it had the majority of my likes on it.
It wasn't my favorite menu throughout the entire cruise. It did have a couple of great options that I would love to go back and try again on another Alaskan cruise, but also there's a couple of things that I can get aboard, you know, the Magic or the Fantasy or the Dream on their 7-night cruises. So there you have it. That's our review of the Captain's Gala menu at Triton's aboard the Disney Wonder with Alaskan Regional Inspirations. If you enjoyed this dining review, please be sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to Monorail Central for more Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney World, Disney Vacation Club, and Walt Disney World Monorail Project content.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all real soon.